Welcome to Talented Universe on this 25th day of July in 2025. All I can say is I'm preparing for a thunderstorm in about 20 minutes, so I'm very excited about that. How about you, Marcia? What's going on there in
Well,
weather-wise?
so far I'm here in Florida. So far, no thunderstorms, but every afternoon you can almost depend on it in the summer.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? East Coast is so wonderful like that. Well, we have a very special guest today. Now, I'm probably going to say it wrong now, but uh, now let me try. Let's see. Don't say it this way. Matt Macedo.
Yes, you got
Oh,
it.
oh,
Yay.
good.
Yes,
I
round
had
of
to think.
applause.
I had to really put on my thinking cap there. I said, "What was I supposed to say?"
All good.
I've said it all different way. But Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. And I got to give a shout out. Good morning or hi, Laura, Sandy. I see you guys in the chat. Hi, hi.
Hi,
Yes.
hi. Yeah, so I'll just throw it up here so they can get the recognition, Laura,
Yes.
uh, and then Sandy.
Yes.
So
So
there we
big shout out
go.
to them. They run my Instagram fan page,
Oh,
just
do
so
you?
you know.
Oh, so
Yeah.
they're the big wigs.
They are big fans. My number
Mm.
one fans. So I don't know. I'll let them battle out who's my number one and number two.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. It says Team Matt Macedo.
Oh,
There you go. Okay. But Matt, now to let everybody know what you do in this vertical world,
yes.
first I want to ask you. I forgot to ask our last guest, but we've asked everybody. How would you describe a vertical drama thing to people that don't know what you're talking about when you say you're doing a vertical?
Sure. Well, I always start off with saying it's like somewhat history repeating itself in the sense of like where it's going back to soap operas, um, but it's new and it's all vertical format. So it's basically vertical soap operas that anybody can watch directly on their phones, and that's the pitch that I say to anybody that asks me like what do you do, and I say I'm a director. Oh, what do you direct? And I'm like, so these vertical dramas, basically vertical soap operas. So that's my go-to. Um, and of course, like I say, history repeating itself because, after my late grandmother passed, I got a bunch of her VHS tapes. And one of the titles on those VHS tapes was called Treasured by the Moon Goddess. And I was like, my God, that is a title of a vertical. And so it does seem like, there's a little, again, something repeating itself in a way.
The
But it's
only change
fascinating.
is they've changed billionaire from millionaire on the
Exactly. Yeah.
VHS tape.
Inflation. Yeah. Inflation. Yeah. Worked its way
Mhm.
into these soap operas for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's been, the whole thing. And, of course they go beyond soap operas. There's a lot of, fantasy elements, they're starting to dip into like some horror, mafia, all those types of different genres. And so, yeah, they're a lot of fun. And yeah, I mentioned I'm a director. I have written a few verticals as well that's kind of out there being pitched around right now. And yeah,
None
so
have been produced yet.
no, none of my own.
The
And
one that you've written
yeah, exactly.
yet.
Yeah, yet. And then I will be also co-producing those as well. I do have my own, Macedo Productions LLC.
Mhm.
And yeah, because I mean, growing up, I wrote, directed, produced, edited, did all my own short films. And, of course, it's going to be a monumental step forward doing, a feature length project versus like a short. But, thankfully, after directing so many of these projects now, I do feel like I can handle it. Um, and so, yeah, I do want to start off co-producing at first and then get into maybe the producing role as well. But yeah, writing, directing, that's always been the foundation of who I am, because I
Mhm.
started writing scripts as a teenager, um, and, filming them in high school and stuff. So yeah, my foundation, I call myself just a writer director.
There you go. Oh, Marcia, I'll let you go ahead. I
Yeah.
monopolized the beginning there.
Well,
So.
hi, Ned, and everybody
Hi.
out there. Was talking about your background. I thought it was really cute and to read and adorable that you started in some of your brother's films.
Yeah, yeah. So at the time, yeah, gosh, between 3 and 5 years old, And I wished, like, I talked to him a few years ago, and I wished we had the video still. I don't know whatever happened to it. Of course, years ago, so I'm sure it's like lost. But yeah, I remember it was this ghost, like, I was a ghost in this sheet, and I was dancing to like Britney Spears, and we did like this really fun little creative visual effect of me like fading um, between like the outside of the door and then fading to where I'm inside the house, like through the door. And yeah, so I mean, that just I don't know what it was. I think a seed was just planted then, just the seed
Yeah.
of, being a little performer, being a little, just this kid
Mhm.
just looking for attention, maybe, I don't know. To where that eventually grew to where I wasn't really ever interested in acting, but I got into writing, when I was about 12 to 14 years old, writing scripts. And and when I say like writing scripts, like literally in the same format. So I taught myself um, screenwriting, like the format of screenwriting. And my first few scripts that I worked on, I did them on Microsoft Word, all manual with the margins and everything. And so that was pretty exhausting.
That was a
um,
pain, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, it hammered in that format for me.
Mm,
And, eventually, I forget what age I was. I was probably like 14 or something. And then I downloaded Final Draft, which is this script writing
yeah.
software. And I remember just how everything did it on its own. The formatting was just automatic, and I was mind blown. And so I remember I wrote like this feature length script like in 3 weeks or something because I was just like, just typing away so quickly. All the scripts I've written back then, they're all just, like a child's imagination just regurgitated onto a page. There's no like story structure or anything like that. So all of these scripts that I've written, are they would need to be heavily edited in order to work, but I've kept them all. It's just one of those symbols of like, this, just it's just like a kid who's drawing, and artwork, and their parents keep it or something. It's just like those little tokens that I've kept all these years. um, and hopefully, maybe I'll rewrite them to be a vertical, who knows. But
mm,
yeah, so just that, the passion has always been there.
mm,
And I made a post recently about how um, it was mostly my dad that was telling me to think of a more realistic path and career. My mom was always very, very supportive. And she was the one like always bringing me down here to Universal Studios, like gosh, multiple times a month usually. Like to where we were kind of sick of it at some point. um,
wow.
yeah, but she was the one that always encouraged me um, to just follow the dream. And so I knew at a very, very young age what I wanted to do. And I never had a plan B. In middle school and high school, I knew having a plan B just meant possibly failing plan A. And that was never going to be an option for me. So I just followed through with the plan, and you never know exactly what the plan is, of course. I didn't even know anything about verticals back in, early 2023 even. So
Mm,
you have no idea what the path is going to be. And thankfully, I just consider myself, I'm just receptive to, you know, messages, clues, um,
mm,
try to be intuitive if I can be, know when to say yes, when to say no. And then just trust. Trust is a big one, trusting that things are happening that are they're meant to happen. I like recently, for example, I know I'm talking so much.
no,
I'm a
go
talker. I
ahead.
told you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just went a few, like almost 2 months or something without work. And, it's easy to compare yourself to others on social media and be like, why am I not working as much right now? But at the same time, I got so much stuff done that I needed to get done. And so in retrospect, it's like, oh, thank God I had all this time off. So I got everything done,
Mhm,
and,
mhm,
so it's a lot of that. It's a lot of trusting that things are happening as they're meant to.
mm,
Um, yeah. And I think just trust is the big thing, trusting that
mhm,
everything's going to work out, trusting that everything is as it should be. Yeah. And I try to leave myself kind of open to signs from the universe too that, validate that. Like one recently um, was I was chatting with an actor who was in a previous show of mine, and we were just like chatting, just catching up. And I happened to get an email from a producer that I'm on my next job with, and I just told him I might have this job with this company. And he happened to say, "Oh, I hope it's with this person." And it was the same person, that same name.
Mhm.
So, like, those little validating moments, I'm like, "Oh, wow. Okay. So everything is exactly like on the right track, exactly where it should be." So, yeah, it's just being receptive to those kind of messages and those cues. Um, and yeah. So I'm talking a lot.
No. Well, in looking at and following your path, sort of, I really enjoyed watching a couple of your shorts or your
Oh,
short films.
oh
And
wow. Yeah.
for instance, Drug of Choice
Mm,
was it 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 is hard hitting,
hmm.
and I wondered where that choice to make that film came from.
Yeah. Well, I
Mhm.
love that we're diving back into my pre-vertical world because this is
Mhm.
awesome. So, so I made Drug of Choice when I was about maybe 21 or so, and yeah. So, fun little story about that. So, not to throw my parents under the bus, both of them were kind of very vocal about their past with drug use, and just always in a way to encourage their kids not to go down that path. So I wanted to kind of tell this story. And I was living in somewhat of a chaotic household at the time too, not drug related but alcohol related. So I kind of just channeled everything that teenage, or because the character himself was like 17 to 18, so channeling like whatever I was kind of going through subconsciously during that time with the extreme version of drug use, and kind of combining that, but also, I teamed up with Champions Recovery. It was a rehabilitation center in Kings County where I filmed, where I lived at the time. And so a goal of mine was to not just make this film, but also to send it to rehabilitation centers like all over the place, and kind of just share kind of this reality for this person. And there was like a in the original in the original story that I released, there was a happier ending where he became like recovered, and
Mhm.
and everything was fixed, and his life got better. And that was the one that we sent off to rehabilitation centers. But I do, for some reason, like, go the dread route. I definitely kind of feel like not all films need a happy ending because life doesn't often have happy endings. So the director's cut of that show ends just as it begins, right, with him lying on the railroad tracks, and
Yes.
and it ends with a black screen. So I felt like that was obviously the message. I think landed a bit harder for that, in that way. Um, but yeah, that was just an interesting time in my life too. And I think like that film, man. So that film, when it came out, that's the first film that I made that went to a film
Film
festival.
festival.
Yeah, it went to the Reno Tahoe International Film Festival, and I just saw somebody went, like another, like a vertical producer, just got their project in there too. And seeing that it said 2025, it reminded me that mine said 2015. So it was 10 years ago that my
Wow.
that short film was accepted there. And yeah, so it's just the journey since then. I think I filmed it on a like Canon T3i or something like that, some DSLR. Um, and that was the film that I submitted to film school for me to get accepted into film school.
Oh.
Um, and yeah, even just sometimes looking back on that short film, I'm like, some of these shots are pretty good, or some, these emotional elements are like they really hit,
Yes.
so like getting out of my own head, if I were to see a 20-year-old making a film like that, I'm like, okay, there's a foundation here
There's
for
something
someone.
there.
Yeah, like with the right kind of education, with some good,
Nurturing.
with some good like
Mhm.
mentorships and everything. I think there's some possibility there for for some
Mhm.
good things. um and so a lot of the things that I was doing then was subconscious. After going to film school, I was able to then understand like the rules, right, of film and the language of film and how to effectively, either break some rules or how to get the message across in a visual context. Um, and so, yeah, I'm very grateful for the friends that I had that encouraged me to leave that small town and come out to LA and go to film school. And I think in a way, I would have gotten to where I am probably eventually. But I think film school definitely helped speed things up. And of course, it helped with the connections that I made too. Like I'm in the vertical space due to meeting a producer that I met, through various, like volunteering on an AFI set via somebody that I met in class, just like, those types of layers that you meet people to meet people. But yeah, so an incredible journey so far. Yeah, that film, very sentimental for me.
Yeah, and it actually is available for those who would like to watch it on YouTube. If you'd like
Yes.
to take a look, I recommend it highly.
Yes, yes. Viewer discretion advised. It does have some
Yes,
abuse,
it is hard.
drug or
Yeah.
simulated drug use, that type of stuff.
Mhm.
It's definitely not a happy film to watch. I would just watch it in the sense of just, if you've seen my verticals, I guess, go back and
Mhm.
see something that I made when I was 20. And,
Mhm.
in a way too, like, it's very easy to call these verticals cringy because of, just some of the stuff that we have to do in them. And so it's funny to look back on that type of project that I did and think in a way that it is somewhat and it's better in some ways, it's not as cringy. But yeah, I do eventually hope to get back into the
Mhm.
that narrative space to be able to tell kind of more of those like, you
Mhm.
know, realistic, you know, harsher stories. I don't want to say darker stories, but a bit more realistic and
Gritty.
yeah, yeah. Like holding a mirror up to reality to people, and showing them, that sometimes it's just just the discomfort, in the world today. Um, I love doing comedies too. I haven't been able to do comedies as much as I would want to,
Mhm.
because I mean that's just my personality outside of film too. I'm always laughing. I'm always having fun. And I think that's why I do like to dive into like the darker um, side of storytelling and like the human psyche in a way too. Um, one of the first, or not one of the first. I want this to be my first like feature film theatrical release project, but I did write a horror script that's not so much you know bloody and gory, but it's like dread filled with atmosphere and tension and things that the character's kind of going through. So yeah, I would really want to dive more into that type of genre, not so much werewolf billionaire
Mhm.
type of stuff. But the thing that I'm so grateful for working in these verticals is that I'm getting these reps in. I'm working. So many people can often go their whole life without doing a single feature film. And I'm very grateful that even though we don't consider them like feature films, but they're feature film length scripts. So having done as many as I've done, I'm grateful for that. There's not a day that goes past that I lose that gratitude. So yeah, it's easy, when you're on social media to compare to others and, look at other, directors that have probably done over 20 or, actors that have done over 40 or intimacy coordinators that have done over 100. And it's like, my God, and part of me just, I'm so excited to reach that number, to look on my IMDb and see that I've done like 50 verticals or 100 verticals. I'm like, whoa, that'll be an exciting time. But yeah, yeah,
How many verticals have you done, if you can remember to count?
sure. If I there was a time to where I was somewhat forgetting. Um, but I've directed 13 so far. Yeah. So directed
Lucky
13.
13.
Lucky number 13. Yes. Yeah. And so, there's a few times, where I've just did projects back to back to back. And of course it's just exhausting. And then I go through a period of not working for a few weeks, like 2 months almost too. Um, and so there is this when you're in-house, which I was technically never in. I don't know. I never signed a contract to be in-house or exclusive to Shortmax, but I was pretty much like in-house with them because I did a lot of projects with them, like 10. So
That's
they
a
just kept
lot.
me, yeah, they kept me very busy. As soon as I would wrap a project, they would say, "Here's the script for the next one." So that's what I valued that for being like in-house. And then once you get to being freelance, now things are a bit more chaotic. Um, and so kind of just learning to balance that kind of that life of things. But I think like I was saying before the show got started, like I got so much stuff done in the time that I've
Yeah.
had off that I really needed to get done. So even though I might look back and be remorseful or upset that I had all this time off, in retrospect it was needed. It was very important. So yeah.
Yeah, well, let me just go to the chat room. We got two little things here. Petra says, Matt.
Hi, Petra. With the wave, love it.
And then I don't, when you were making your last comments, this is when Laura put all the hearts. So,
Yes, love Laura. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So,
What has been, at least so far, your most challenging vertical that you've had to direct?
oh man, it's funny enough. I would have to say, just going back to the first one. The first one, it was just such a shock to us, and the scripts back then were monumental. It was like 180 pages. Each episode kind of had like a little page break to it. So I think without all of that stuff, it might have been like 150 total or something. So still a lot, still pretty much nearly double what they are now. So yeah, it was just an insane workload. So I mean, this is the first vertical. We get this script that's 150 plus pages long, and you have no idea what you're getting into. I think we had like maybe 10 or 12 days to film the whole thing, maybe even less. I'm blocking it out of my memory.
I don't
because I just
no,
don't want to
I
forget.
think
Yeah.
I'd block it out too. So I totally get that.
Yeah. I'm just like, repressing it. But yeah, it was, it was both like the chaotic one, but also like, just groundbreaking. I think the biggest day we shot like 30 plus scenes, or around like 30 pages or so. And I haven't done that many since. We usually average like around 16 to 18 pages per day. But yeah, I mean, obviously the quality hurts because of that. That show is like, oof, it's difficult to watch. But it has, just this, before verticals became, somewhat mainstream, it has this, like indie film vibes, like a bunch of friends coming together to film something,
Yes.
and so it very much has that kind of energy to it. And so I would just say, that one would be the most difficult, just because of everything that it was just the first time. It was our first time experiencing a vertical, and I think everybody could relate to that. It got obviously easier and easier as the projects went by, because we knew what to expect. And a lot of these shows too, just the coverage is basically the same. It's like a 2-shot or over the shoulder type of thing. There's so many times where, like, thankfully for a project I have right now, I have like nearly a month of prep to do it. I think my show Love Trap, I wrapped Billion Dollar Baby. I had one day off, which was the fitting and the table reading, and then we started filming the next day. And so I was kind of just learning the script, learning everything with the actors too. But I think I have this, like, I guess, I don't know what it is. Just like how I was just describing Call Me Alpha, that show, and I can barely remember things about it in a way. I just like have a clean slate. As soon as I finish a project, I just like, I try to forget. I try to
Wipe it out.
I forget everything about it. Yeah. And then just hyper focus on a new show. Like so much to where I don't even think I can recall characters' names so much. But yeah, because it's just, of course, when you do it so many, a lot of characters' names are always the same too. Like I think Eric has been Alexander like 5 times or something probably. And then Zach too, Zachary. I always accidentally call him Ryan by accident, because we had 2 projects back to back where his character name was Ryan, and so I'm like, hey Ryan, Zach, But yeah, so in terms of most difficult, it would be Call Me Alpha. In terms of the most fun, just to add my own question in there.
No, well, that's
There you
you've
go.
already answered one question I was going to ask you. So
Oh, cool. Yeah. It's my show now, guys. No, I'm kidding.
it pretty much is. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it now. Yeah, the most fun, I would have to say, um, Billion Dollar Baby was somewhat like the first like comedic one that we were having fun on. So on that one, we just busted up laughing so often on set, especially that there's a moment when Kirby grabs the a blow up doll. And she's like trying to get the air out of it as quickly as possible, and she was struggling. And we're just behind the monitor just laughing, me and Olivia, our intimacy coordinator, just busting up laughing. So lots of fun on set. And I think I try to make my sets always like that. I'm never the type of director that ever raises my voice or gets upset for any reason, honestly. I believe like it's a flow state that you have to keep on set, so how dare I ever become an obstacle, you know, kind of blocking that flow of things. If there's ever sort of any obstacle that comes up from any other department head or from any department, my job is to solve that and keep the river flowing,
Mhm.
So yeah, I've learned a lot, from these verticals, and yeah, so it's been my master class, these verticals. 100%. I've learned so much. Yeah.
So, my question was going to be, how much prep time do you usually have before you shoot something? Because we have had some other directors that have done TV shows, and some of them have at least several weeks, and just talking to people, and they get their assignment early, and they know it's coming up. They get the script and stuff, but it doesn't sound like that happens too often.
Not too often.
Verticals.
Yeah, not too often. I'm used to maybe a week, 2 weeks of prep, up to a month. I mean, having a month of prep is like it's so epic, and then it's hilarious when you get into like regular feature films. Sometimes they have like 6 months to a year of prep. Yeah, it's like ridiculous. I don't even know what I would do with that much time. I would be like, this is a waste of time, guys. But I love getting all of the stuff fixed in prep, because I'm going through a script right now, and there's so many like logistical things in the script that need to be fixed in order for filming it to be like incredibly smooth and like no problems. Like in the script, there'll be a montage sequence, and the scene heading says it takes place in this house, in a character's house. Well, there's 3 different paragraphs, and the beginning of each paragraph says it's in the living room, in the kitchen, in the bedroom. And it's like we have to distinguish each of those scene locations, because it's not technically in this house, it's in these locations. So when I get a script, I go through and I try to fix all of that stuff, fix any typos. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, which doesn't help, it can be a double-edged sword in a way. But yeah, so I go through, fix a lot of stuff to just make sure when we're filming it that it's just so smooth. I have been seeing so many sets going overtime lately, like 2 hours
Really?
overtime. Yes. And I'm like, I have never done that. And I don't know really what's going on. Because I mean, I've been out of it for a few weeks.
It
so
just
hilarious.
changes in a few weeks. It's
yes,
a whole different industry.
Honestly,
Yes.
in a way, it does feel like that. Since the last time that I've filmed on set, there's been projects that I've filmed and released, and so I feel like way behind. But yeah, it's just it's so much going on. But yeah, as yeah, it's all fun.
Yeah, and Sandy says, last thing I'm going to go back to Marsha. Sandy says, you
Sandy.
truly are amazing. Keep kicking butt.
I'm going to keep kicking butt, Sandy. Thank you.
Okay, Marsha.
When you're talking about filming, and so many pages that you have to do, but you also have to have so many cuts. It's end scene, end scene, end scene. Are there some challenges in continuity from scene to scene?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you have everybody's kind of paying attention to that, not just a scripty. The scripty is kind of obviously like hyper focused on that type of stuff, but directors should keep an eye out for it too. Anybody else should keep an eye out for it. It happens sometimes. A continuity, mistake needs to happen just for comfort. Like I think in stealing my Alpha's heart, actually. There was a scene in the beginning where Eric kind of takes off his shirt, of course, right? As
Of
they
course.
do in Verticals, yeah. So he takes off his shirt to give to Abigail, to cover her up in the wedding dress, And then the next scene, they're in the store or like in this like luxury boutique hall or whatever, and he's wearing his shirt again. And so that might come off as a continuity error, but in the moment, of course, he's not going to be in this store shirtless, So there's these things that, it just needs to make sense, even though it might come off as a continuity error. Just obviously, this is the way it needs to be. So, yeah, it's just, it's not just keeping an eye on that stuff, but it's making it fit within the world and making it like make sense, But yeah, so the way that we usually film, right, is we block shoot things per location, right? So we'll film all of the bedroom scenes at once, even if it's like episode 1, episode 10, episode 40, whatever, we'll shoot all of those scenes at once. More specifically, we'll shoot all the day scenes and then all the night scenes, that type of thing. And so it's a lot of back and forth. The actors might film one scene and then they'll run downstairs, get changed for the next scene, come back up, and then we do it again. And so it's like a very well-oiled machine, right? Because it's been an industry now for nearly 100 years. So there's an established routine to do things. The new thing, I guess, would be the formula of Verticals and the and the specific tropes that need to be put in them. But yeah, just the filming it, yeah, it's just there's a specific tradition that we just do of everything at the same time. Like I know some people might think that we shoot a show in order, like we actually start with episode 1 and go in order of the whole scenes, but it's way all over the place usually.
Very few that I've found shot.
So as a director and as a viewer, I'm going to put in a plea to get some blooper reels.
I love doing the blooper reels. Yes. And it's so funny because I posted some and then you start seeing all the other, the other Facebook or the Instagram accounts posting them too. But
isn't that amazing how that works? You do something that's good and then they all come.
They want to see it.
It's great. It's great. I started seeing some trailers starting to give the actors credit as well. They haven't given the director credit, but they give the actors credit.
So we're moving, because that was what I did not like when I started the show back, when I started trying to get people back in November. It was like I had a hard time finding who was in them.
Yeah. It's so sad.
It was so like, wow.
Yeah. And when I first did the trailers for them, I didn't even ask for permission, which was risky. I didn't ask. It was one of those moments where I'm like, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than for permission.
Right.
And then I just put it out there. Thankfully, the person over at the head honcho at Short Max, when I first did that for The Unwanted Mate, he was like, the world needs to see this. I'm like, all right, dude, calm down now. But he, was he really enjoyed that trailer. And so, I figured since, I just did that, I guess I'm just going to do that for all my shows from now on. Cool. So the only show I haven't done that for recently was Fated to Be So. And it's because I had a lot of stuff going on here. But part of me also is like, maybe I should start just saving those trailers that I edit for shows that I have written also. So just making it more kind of like an exclusive thing to where it's the shows that I'm more heavily involved in, because it is a lot of work. I see a show is released. It's at least like 12 to 15 hours or so to edit a trailer. And if I have stuff going on, it's like, oof.
Then you do it and you make sure that your name is prominent on every other frame.
For sure. And I mean, I love, I do consider them like my reels, right? So it's if anybody, if I have a producer that's interested in hiring me or anything, I encourage them to go to my website and they're able to see all of the trailers that I edited for the shows. And it's purely just for that reason. It's purely for social media and my website. The platforms themselves don't use the trailers for anything. But I mean, that's fine. To
get around on Instagram and nowadays, that's good.
That's all it needs. That's all I need from it. Yeah. 100%.
I saw that you had put up a video on directing, So when
Oh
you're
yeah.
you're already giving back to
Mm.
giving to new people who want to know how to do what you do, and
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Just sharing because I don't know everything, of course, you know. I'm purely just kind of sharing what I'm learning as I'm learning it. And I just kind of, it's this way that I'm able to kind of just reinforce it within my own, psyche. But yeah, I love just being able to share it with others too. I have a lot of, younger filmmaker friends
Mm,
from like my old hometown and area too that, I think they I'm like, I think they look up to me, which is weird. No. Um, I think they were in it from the beginning too. When I first started doing verticals, I went actually back to my hometown to film them because much cheaper to film. And, they were, involved. They saw, those early years of the
mhm,
early year. Keep saying it like it was so long ago. They saw the beginning, and just to see kind of where I am now, I think, they're proud. So I think no.
mhm,
And so yeah, it's just giving back to them, kind of just and it's just I see myself in them, because I was again, making drug a choice. I was that 20-year-old filmmaker, and I just encourage them just keep going, keep consistent with it, and you will achieve what you want to. So that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
As a director, do you find did you or and when you first started or even now find it challenging to listen to others critique your work?
No, because I'm my biggest, I'm my worst critic. I don't think anybody could say anything as negative as I say about myself, which is awful, Um, but it's awful. But yeah, I think that's, I guess a way that helps. I think, I as soon as I finish a project, I'm able to critique it and see like
Mhm,
what I did wrong and what I wish I would have done. And so if anything, like I'm able to take other people's criticism and their, criticism or critique, is either validating to me, or, I can just think of, or, maybe it's just not for you, specifically.
mhm,
So, it's like some of these projects that I'm pitching around, these scripts that I've written, I'll get some feedback from people saying, it's pushing the envelope too much, it doesn't fit within the climate right now. So hold off on the script for another year or two. And, that's their perspective. Meanwhile, I hear other people saying this is exactly what's needed right now. And that's my feeling. My feeling is this is what's needed right now. So, everybody's different, um, I think it could be very dangerous, obviously, for someone that's like susceptible to like taking on others' opinions and having like your own reality kind of shaped around what they think.
mhm,
So that's, dangerous. And, I try to stay out of that, I think so just stay in my own head, in my own world, Yeah.
Well, world building as a director has got to be a lot of fun. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
you bring
Absolutely.
magic to people, and that
Mm.
lasts forever because once you've made it, it's there, and
Yeah.
people can watch it and becomes
Yeah.
inspiration or funny or
100%. Yeah.
so I
That's the
I
the
uh
that's the best feeling in the world, being on set and
mhm,
capturing this vision that you had, And it's
mhm,
just, growing up, I was a big believer, still am, but I was a big fan of like the law of attraction and the secret, and like visualizing something and then having it manifest, And I was like, wow, this is like literally that. It's physical. It's like it's manifesting a vision into something physical. And so I was always, fascinated um, by that feeling, on set of capturing something and making it real. And that's somewhat my like habit as a writer too. I usually don't even start with the character or like the theme of the show or the film or anything. I will usually just start with like this vision that I have of this scene of like a reconnection or a moment, right? And then I'll build the world and the characters kind of all around that moment.
mhm,
Um, and yeah, it's just all self-taught, so I don't think so. I mean,
that's
anybody could come to
amazing.
me, yeah, and say you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to start with this structure or something like that. It's like no, um, yeah, everybody doing their own thing. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far, and hopefully just the beginning.
Well, I have to, when you talk about reconnection, I also watched Without Regret,
Oh
which
yeah, yeah,
which is uh, about, to me, it's about reconnection in a supreme moment,
yeah.
and beautifully
Beautiful
done.
story, right?
And you
Thank
can
you.
also watch that on YouTube, guys.
Yes,
So
please do. Yeah.
another
That
short.
one. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that one was also, that's another short film. So I did Drug of Choice was before film school, and I did Without Regret, Homegrown, and Our Oceans while I was in film school. And Without Regret, beautiful story. So that one was kind of inspired by my like just a three generational like relationship with conflicts and stuff, so it was kind of started off with my mom and her mom, and they had some tension in their relationship, and then just having that kind of reflected on the relationship of with me and my mother, and I'm the kid that's like all into psychology and all
Hmm.
these stuff, like the little, like the therapist of the family, and so I'm able to see like these generational like curses, right, that are impacting and like going on, impacting generation after generation. And I'm like, I'm the one
Yeah.
that's like, no, I'm putting the stop to that, and in a way, I just wanted to tell that story. Um, and so it was, it's about this mother and daughter who have like this conflict, this conflicting relationship. And she gets this phone call, the adult mother gets the phone call that her mom is passing away and she's in the hospital. So then it's breeds this whole like, you know the adult daughter feels like she was never wanted, and she ultimately makes this decision to go and reconnect with her. There's that beautiful moment of that mother not being able to communicate to her,
Hmm.
that she's on that same level, right, that they want to reconnect. And so the adult daughter has that final moment with her, leaves, and then we see that tear fall on
Yeah.
the mother's eye.
Really
And
beautiful. I'm
I'm
getting a tear right now. It's
oh
just beautiful. Just
yeah, that was a
beautiful.
beautiful one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So when that kind of moment, I do see subtleties of that kind of inspirational direction in your work now. I know
Mm,
it can be difficult to put it into.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Because it's not intentional. There's so many things. I'm sure if you watch like Drug of Choice or any of my other short films, you
Yes.
see probably some commonalities
Yes.
in what I'm
Hmm.
filming, and that's just all unconscious. That's just whatever's kind of deep rooted in here, coming out in film. So maybe, hopefully one day I'll get to a point to where there's people that analyze my short films, and maybe that will be when I'm able to see it clearly, if somebody analyzes it and really puts everything into words. But for me, it's just, a habit. It's just this, I don't know exactly what it is. I
Mm.
can't put words to it. It's just doing the instinct, And so, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you guys.
I had one other comment. Well, they just made a comment. And I just lost it.
I see Laura says I'm a
Yeah,
goofball.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Whoops.
Yes, I'm a goofball. I know, Laura.
Yes, you're a good ball, and yes,
And
he
then great book
does.
writer.
Great book
Yeah.
writer as well.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. I have some books out on Amazon. There's one that's I've written called The Art of Intuitive Filmmaking. It's how to harness your instincts as a
Mm.
director, just talking about, I improvised a short film. This is before Verticals, actually, like right before. I was working on this feature film that shall not be named because it was horrible. Really
Oh,
awful,
good. I'll
really
go look it
awful.
out.
I know, it's called Bloodline. Let me just give it to you now. Yeah, you should watch it. Actually, it's going to be like a cult classic for yeah. So I was, just helping out with like Crafty on that set, and me and a couple of the younger filmmakers, like I was saying or mentioning earlier, we're all staying in this Airbnb. So we just wrapped filming like 12+ hour days, and so it's like maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and we're all just like hanging out. I don't know if we already wrapped the film, maybe, but for some reason we all stayed up very late that night, and we were waiting for, I think, the makeup artist to come back because she was staying at our Airbnb also. And we're just hanging out, and then we have this like we hear a noise on the inside. So we're all chilling out in the backyard, and then we hear a noise inside, and we're like, oh my God, we should go investigate it. Let's go check it out. So we're all looking through the house, make our way out to the front door. And then when we come back inside, just a little note too, like there's this, like the automatic door lock. For some reason, even if the doors, it's like on a timer. So it's just going to automatically lock, even if the door is wide open, like it just locks for some reason, like meaning that the latch comes out. And so there's a moment where he goes to close the door. And because of that, because of the automatic latch coming out, the door doesn't close. And in that instant, like as soon as the door bounced off the wall, I had like this rush of visuals coming to me. And I was like, ooh, do you guys want to make a short film right now? And it was just this immediate burst of like inspiration, creative energy to where even they were like, yeah, let's do it. So we just jumped on it. And of course, like no shot list or no planning of the story or anything like that. It was just pure intuitive. Let's just capture something. And, kind of just basing off of what we just kind of did, right? Being in the backyard, hearing something, going to investigate it. We just did that. Kind of introduced some elements into it of paranoia and all of that. And so when he goes to the house, same thing, hears this noise, but nobody's there. And then he goes to shut the door. And as soon as the door shuts, boom, this, entity, whatever it is, this farmer, this evil person, bursts through the door and then chases him throughout the house. And so it was really a fun little jump scare. Just a fun little, short film. And everybody that I showed it to also afterwards, they were like, "Damn, this is actually really good." And so we made some like, little fun sequels afterwards. It was called The Sinister Strain on that one. Yeah.
Okay.
The Sinister Strain. It started off with the character smoking. And so the strain, of what he was smoking is, we started coming up with like this whole, backstory of like this farmer maybe grew this substance and cursed it because people wanted to come steal it or something like that. So whoever smoked this is now cursed, and they go into this dark hallucination type of trip, but where he actually, it's like Freddy Krueger mixed with, but it was a really fun little just short film that we just improvised, so the book kind of dives into just capturing that kind of intuitive energy, kind of what went into making it. I share a lot of like other examples of like intuition and post-production and filming and all that kind of stuff, and it would be very boring if it was just me. So I included like other higher profile directors and like their experience with what they've said about intuition and all that kind of stuff. So that's one book. I am working on a second version because again, that one came out like I think after I did the first vertical, and back then I was like so hesitant to include anything about a vertical because I was like, I don't know if I can get sued for just talking about it or anything. But now, I think, after doing so many, I have more knowledge to share, right? So I do want to do a second version, really diving into what I've learned working on all these verticals. And then another book, which is like just a prompted journal. It's just a blank book with a bunch of, like put in the film name, and, it's more of an educational journal for all filmmakers, really, if they want to learn like the language of film. And
kind of a workbook, kind of.
Yeah. So it's basically, if you're watching a movie, you can, watch and kind of just like answer some questions that the book is asking of you. Yeah. And so it's something that I wish I had in film school, honestly. So that's just something that I made for the younger self, Even after making that, I took a bunch of copies to my film school that I used to go to, and then just gave it to the library. And I'm like, here you go. Hopefully some students will want it. But yeah, so did that. It's just fun. Yeah. I have another, I never really advertised this one just because it's like a gag gift, it's just a gift that should be, it's made fun of, but, it's a children's cutting book, and it's called Lights, Camera, Cut. And it's like film themed. It has like film emojis type of thing in it, like camera crew and film reels and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like a dotted line around it, so that way kids can like cut out shapes and stuff. And so it's like a book meant to be totally destroyed. but I don't really advertise that one much just because it's like, you know.
It's
But the
neat.
other ones, yeah, it's cool. It's fun. Yeah, yeah. My demographic, I don't know if they have kids so much, but yeah, yeah. So
Sounds like fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is that on Amazon as well? Or
yeah. All three on
okay.
Amazon. Yeah, I think if you just search my name on Amazon, or if you search
Mhm.
up one of the books and then you click on the author name, you might see it
The
that
will
way.
come up.
Yeah, yeah. I think they'll come up that way. Yeah.
Now, we do have a question from Christine Elizabeth. Can you
Ooh.
talk more about elevated content, where verticals are going? Which apps looking for elevated content?
Hmm.
If you even know for sure, or if things keep changing every week since you've been out of it for a couple of weeks.
I don't even know what's going on. No, I'm kidding. Um, in terms of like, I'm going to assume by elevated content, they mean like elevating the quality of it to where it's not so much like
That's what I
abuse
would think.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and to where it's, unfortunately, it seems like it's the opposite right now. And it's so interesting because there's a small group of fans on Instagram that are very vocal about not wanting abuse and bullying and all of these negative,
Mhm. Mhm.
moments in these shows. But the data is the opposite. These shows like Divorced at the Wedding Day, for example, with Tiffany. I just watched it for some research and I was like, whoa, because it was just, she was poor thing. I need to send her a message like, poor thing, dude, you went through hell on that one. But yeah, if you guys see Divorced at the Wedding Day, so much abuse going on.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, but it's like well over 100 million views on
See,
Jumbo.
that's the thing, and it's
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and I just came out with a show, The Mafia's Forbidden Virgin, I think it's called. So very questionable title, but the show,
yes.
but I think for whoever saw the show, I think I got one review on it recently and she was like, ignore the title, ignore this. It was actually pretty good, but that show has like 3 million views or something. And so the data, these companies are purely data driven. So
Oh,
they
it's
don't
all
really
data.
care.
It's all,
Yeah. 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 So
and
they
which
don't
makes
really
total
care.
sense. Which makes total
Yeah,
sense.
I get it. I get it too, and I
Yeah,
get that means my short or my scripts. They're a risk. They really are a
because
risk
they're
to.
different. Because they're
Yeah,
different.
they're
Yes.
different, but at the same time, it's like we need something different. You go on these platforms and everything looks the same. All these titles look the same.
Sometimes the
Um,
stories are the same,
well, exactly the same.
almost identical. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Change the
yeah,
fans who
names do
want
not
something
protect
different
anybody.
need to be
yeah,
more vocal.
yeah, exactly. And so I'm trying, like I'm trying to get it out there. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
give the fans what they want. Um, but it's just convincing these platforms that that's what they really want. They're only going to do it data driven. They're only going to do it if the
Oh,
data says
absolutely,
to. So
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So that's the thing.
And how
But
many memberships they get,
yeah, yeah.
and
Oh, and in
what
terms
they
of
click on.
yeah, and in terms of like the platforms, I mean, I think I've been seeing like I think it's Candy Jar, um, Galetta TV or something like that they
Mhm.
changed their name to. I
They
think
changed
they
their name. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That platform is looking like they just did a show Chasing Kiara or something. Like that one, like those show. I think that platform is going to do really well. Vigloo, I think, is doing really well. Drama
Mhm.
Box. Um, I've been hearing some things about Real Short. I mean, they're one of the bigger platforms, so I'm not here to say like anything negative about them, of course. Um, it's just just
They
some
were the
things.
first ones that I found. So
Yeah, yeah. And so they're obviously, I think, the biggest one. I think Drama Box is
mhm.
either the
It's
biggest also
next.
or right behind
Yeah,
them.
or
Yeah.
right behind, or tied.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's hundreds of apps too. There's so many. And I even know people trying to make a new app too. Um, and I mean, why not? The opportunity is out there. I see so many like LinkedIn posts of people saying like, mainstream Hollywood, whenever you're ready, get in this, and people are printing money, you know, and it's just like, okay, like I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for any of these bigger players to get in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, by next year or something, we'll see. I think I saw that like they're hesitant because it's all non-union still. They have to wait till it gets union or something. But
Yes. Uh huh.
yeah,
That is it. But I would like to say thank you, Sally Mulligan Quintara, for the like on Facebook. We do appreciate that.
Oh,
And,
thank you.
and if you are watching, subscribe, like, follow our social media. So if we happen to pick up somebody else that you really would like to sit down and ask some questions to, so you won't miss it live, because you can't ask the questions when we're not live, sadly. So people try, and I write them if I can. I mean, that when we especially the one week we did 5 vertical people, actors.
Oh yes, Campus Rivals, right? Was that Campus
Yeah,
It was
Rivals?
that week.
Yeah,
It was
very cool.
no, I'm talking about separate shows.
But separate shows.
Oh,
in 1
I
week.
see. Oh,
We
wow.
had 5, and that
Oh, wow.
Campus Rivals was one of them.
Mhm.
So
Wow, double
we
whammy
had
there.
9 or 10 people, because I think one of them was a double. So yeah, it was a little much, but
Mhm.
we recouped after a week or two, didn't we, Marcia?
Yes, we did.
Good. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, but we look forward to when other things that we do have people on, they come to. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of slow right now. So
Appreciate
we're
that.
enjoying our vertical people. So
Oh, good. Yeah. And Marcia, you really surprised me pulling out some questions about the old short films. Thank you.
Oh,
no, we
gosh.
like to delve. That's why when I send most of the thing in saying and hobbies and other stuff,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
we
yeah.
do, we're focusing right now on verticals, but we want to know everything about you.
Everything.
Sure. Sure.
And
I
it
really,
adds
yeah.
to
Sure.
it adds depth.
Yeah.
And it's so enjoyable to
Yeah.
talk to you about
Oh, thank you.
what makes you you.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
what makes you
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Especially just anybody in this vertical field, right? Because it's this perfect time right now where it really is like these, I think they're just superstars in the making. I'll scroll Facebook and I'll see like these edits of Eric and Jeff and all these
Yeah.
people that I've worked with, and I'm like, whoa, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Can I get
wow,
your
like they're
autograph?
blown. Yeah, I know, right? No way. But yeah, it's just we're still in this like infant stage where you're able to reach out to them and message them on Instagram, and like they're so
Yeah.
kind and they're so personal
They
to where
are.
they will
They
message you
are.
back. So yeah, we're in this wonderful stage right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Oh, thank you,
before we
Laura.
close, what
Yes.
we know you hardly have off time, but and you've been dealing with some construction in the area, but what do you do for, just Matt relaxing time?
Oof. It does kind of seem, ridiculous to say, but growing up, this kind of stuff was my hobby, filming and writing scripts and working on scripts and all that kind of stuff. So I do consider what I do fun, as much as ridiculous as that says, as ridiculous as that does sound. I do. I'm very grateful for what I'm doing. It's one of those things to where you find what you love, then you're never working a day in your life,
Yeah.
Yeah, that, playing with my cats, cleaning, organizing, gardening would be a big thing. I do love, I believe like our gardens are like physical representations for how we're doing, inside. If you have that time to tend to your garden, water it and pluck all the dead stuff off, then you know that you're present in your own, reality. So
Beautiful.
yeah. If all that, yeah.
I see you've got some vines there on the window.
Oh yeah,
Are those
those are
are
fake.
those real? Or is that real?
They're fake. They're fake. Yeah, those are
But
fake. Yeah.
but it brings green inside.
Yes. Absolutely. I do have a lot of plants around, especially, my front, I have like so many hanging plants, and then in the back too, my back patio, I have tons of plants as well. Try to keep myself surrounded by plants and succulents and all that good stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
on
thank you, guys.
behalf of Marcia and myself, thank you so much, Matt, for coming.
Aw,
And
thank you, guys.
Laura posted something at the end here. It's a great show. Thanks for having Matt on. He's the
Aw,
best.
She's
He
the
is
best.
he's a great person. It has been wonderful to have you on.
No,
And
thank you.
everyone, please watch some of our other podcasts that we've done, and some people that Matt has worked with. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
so go ahead and watch those, and enjoy. Watch the future ones. As I was telling Matt just before we went on, I just got someone confirmed for tomorrow at the last minute at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Woohoo.
Yeah, woo woo. And it's like Annalisa's Southwest Wall will be on with us at 7 p.m.
Okay. Nice.
So she'll be joining us. I'll get that up really soon so you can all see it. But on behalf of Talented Universe and NDB Media, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Bye.